I have a different joke. This is about the rabbi. And it was the second day of Pesach. And he was walking on the street, and he sees the president of the synagogue walking the same direction, but then all of a sudden the president enters into a Chinese restaurant. The rabbi couldn't believe it. So he gets closer, he looks at the window, the guy sits there, and he asks for the menu. And he starts ordering dumplings and noodles and things, and finally he gets all this food in front of him and starts eating it. The rabbi couldn't believe it. So when the president leaves the restaurant, the rabbi goes to talk to him, say, "What have you done? What have you done? Do you know what day is today? Today is Pesach, and you just ate all that Chinese food." And the president said, hold on a minute. Did you actually see me entering the restaurant? Yes. Did you actually see me ordering the food? Yes. Did you actually see me eating the food? Of course I did. So what's the problem? I was eating in a restaurant under rabbinic supervision. So I want to talk to you today about be careful what you say. Be careful what you say. The inspiration for this sermon came the day when we had the announcement of the blizzard, right? You know, all this, we've been planning so carefully, the Sedarim, the one online, but even though it was online, it was a big production that it has to be done here in the building with multiple cameras. Everything was beautifully prepared. We ordered special pajamas and everything, right, to make it super special. And then the second Seder, here in person, finally, people, we are going to have a dinner with them. And then the news of the blizzard that we may have to cancel everything. And you know, when that happens in life, when you have that many expectations, and then you have a negative report coming your way, that things may be different of what you planned, then you have all these roller coasters of feelings and thoughts, and it can be very, very intense. So when that happens, well, it happens in this case, for example, when we have those news, but I realize that things like this happen sometimes in life. Well, it's very easy to get discouraged. And it's also easy to start saying things like, well, I'm in trouble, or it's too much, or I can't do it. Those are usually things what we say when things don't go our way, right? Or things like that. But the truth is, you know, if you stop for a second and you think is that God never promised us that we are not going to have a bumpy road. Maybe God promised us that we are going to have a safe landing. But we know that all these bumps along the road are part of life. And sometimes we have to tap into our faith, tap into our special connection with God, and think that is God bring you through it? God is going to help you make it to the other side. And then when we are in front of difficult situations, we have to realize that all that roller coaster of feelings and emotions, they're going to happen, but we have to be very careful of what we say about it. Because we don't realize the power of the speech. Whenever we say something, we are creating a reality, even if you don't realize that. Remember that when God created the world, God didn't think, let it be light. No, what the Torah said? God said, let it be light, and light happened. So I remember an old teachings that I learned many years ago, that sometimes the best we can do to ourselves when we have all those negative feelings and all those negative thoughts is never to speak about them. Because when you speak, you're planting a seed of reality and you are creating a reality based on your words. So the thing is, and I was realizing that Pesach has a lot to do with that philosophy. Because Pesach, of course, when Pesach is referred to the Passover, remember the angel of death, Pesach, who passed over the houses of the Israelites during the 10th plague, right? But Pesach, the name Pesach, can also be understood differently. Pesach. Pe in Hebrew means mouth. And Sach means talking, the mouth that talks. You know, in Hebrew, when you are talking to somebody, you're having a sicha. So Pesach, the word, the mouth that talks. Why? Because the story of Pesach has a lot to do with speech. And what we do with our speech is extremely important the night of the Seder. It's one of those days of the year that is very important to say things. But everything we say during the Seder are words of encouragement. We narrate the Exodus. We talk about slavery. And, you know, when you start talking about, well, yeah, we were slaves and this, and it's terrible, and life is terrible because we were slaves. But that's not the message of Pesach. The message of Pesach is, yes, we were slaves, but God came and took us out of Egypt into a promised land. We saw miracles. And then all of a sudden, slavery either makes sense in the context, or sometimes we don't even think about slavery. We think about the results and what happened after we left Egypt. And I realized that when Moses came to talk to the Jewish people, Moses came with a message of encouragement. Because that's a thing. When we start talking to other people, or even to yourself, you have two options. You can talk to yourself and to other people in a way that you're encouraging others and encouraging yourself and helping other people and helping yourself to see the bright side, or the opposite. The same speech that it could be used to encourage others or yourself could be used to bring a message of discouragement and to create a reality of, I cannot do it, it's impossible, it's too much. Pesach is a moment to reflect also on how we use language. Think about this. One of the things that we do during the Seder, and we don't think it twice about it, funny that I say twice, because it's something that we do twice, which is the dipping. You know, it's one of the 4 questions. All year round, we don't dip. Well, we do dip, but it's basically what happened is back in the day, the dipping was during the meal, never before the meal. That's why the question, why we dip twice this night? So have you ever thought yourself, why we dip twice? What is the dipping about? Well, the rabbis explain that the 2 dippings represents the beginning of slavery and the end of slavery. Beginning of slavery was when Joseph's brothers, remember what they did with Joseph? They sold him into slavery. And what did they do with his coat? They dipped it in blood. But that's not the end of the story, because dip it in blood is nothing. They went to Jacob and they said, they spoke. They said, look at this. Isn't this your son's coat? Look, it's full of blood. What do you think it means? And because of that message of discouragement, Jacob said, my son might be dead. And then as a result of all that, then it was a domino effect that ended up with the slavery, with the Jewish people being in slavery for over 200 years in Egypt, for the way speech was used in that occasion. But at the very end, there was another act of dipping that took us out of Egypt. Also related to blood. When the Israelite dipped these improvised brushes into blood, they put it on their door. and the angel of death pass over their homes. And at that moment, the speech that we remember is the word of God that took us out of Egypt. So it's a reminder of the power of speech and how something that started with negative speech ended with a message of encouragement. And that's what we offer to our guests at the Seder. Because at the end of the day, we have to be very careful of what we say. Sometimes we don't realize that you can say something hurtful in 10 seconds, but the wounds of those words can be there for 10 years after that. So, on Pesach, Festival of Freedom, we should break free from negative speech. We should break free from messages of discouragement and to embrace a kind of communication that is encouraging, motivating, uplifting. As soon as they left Egypt, people of Israel started to complain. Are we going to die here? Not enough graves in Egypt. And Moses says, don't worry. Don't be afraid. And witness what God is going to do to you. So, my challenge, my question for each one of you it is, what are you going to be? Are you going to be the one that uses speech to discourage? Or you're going to be like Moses, using your speech to bring light, encouragement, and a positive message? When we celebrate Pesach, we are like Moses. And we use our wonderful power of speech to be a source of blessing and encouragement for everybody. Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.